First, let me start by saying Donald Trump is a developer. The mayor's proposed gutting of the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act is truly a death by 1,000 cuts. WTOP and the Washington Post reported that the DMV metro area had the highest rent increase of any metro area in the nation in 2023. What has the mayor done to address that? She publicly denies it's even true. What legislation has this council proposed to address that ugly but very profitable truth of land inflation that once made D.C. a developer's dream? How has investment benefited Black D.C., where the average white family still has 81 times the wealth for the average Black family? As he said before, Martin Luther King said we have socialism for the rich and capitalism for the poor. This is especially true now that the mayor intends to give billionaires the land surrounding RFK Stadium for $1, but simultaneously removing one of the few safeguards against displacement, making D.C. the city with the highest intensity of gentrification in the nation in 2019, again, as reported by the Washington Post, in case someone else wants to publicly deny that's true too. Streamlining the TOPA process for investors to take part, hiding behind poor people, using them as a shield to make it easier for them to partake in TOPA, focusing on newer buildings because investors want cheap TOPA access to broader building stock will only exacerbate the greed of unrestrained capitalism that will continue to go unchecked. Just like corporate landlords that unlawfully charge sub-metered fees for mandatory utilities through shady third-party billing methods that exceeded the rates charged by Pepco, with little opportunity to dispute the accuracy of these exorbitant fees, the consequences were devastating, with some facing eviction over just a few $100s. Furthermore, utility companies' payment assistance programs designed to keep people in their homes were unavailable to tenants who were billed by third-party companies. The Office of the People's Counsel that advocated for the district utilities consumers told tenants that the agency did not have jurisdiction over third-party billers and could not provide assistance. These are common predatory business practices by corporate landlords and their investors by the mayor, but the mayor wants to reward them with even more power over the livelihood of D.C. residents. I would like to thank Councilman Charles Allen and others on this council who paid attention to this matter and did something when the reports first became public last year. Combine this with the fact that the DMV has the 4th highest number of properties and apartments owned by private equity of all the country's metro areas, as reported by Axos. Again, in case someone else wants to publicly deny, that's true too. Private equity-owned properties ensures ownership is rarely held by D.C. residents and results in poor maintenance and repairs and overall lack of responsiveness to tenant concerns, also commonly known as business as usual. The mayor intends to remove any obstacles to expanding business as usual and maximizing profits in D.C. But at whose expense? The government is not a business and corporations are not people. The government is supposed to reflect the will of the people, not solely the profits and will of business. The will of the people was reflected in all of the ballot initiatives that overwhelmingly passed, but the mayor also wants to make it her business to repeal them to reflect the will of business as usual. It is the will of the people that all of you make it your business to protect and defend the actual will of the people and stand up for the Tenants Opportunity to Purchase Act, Emergency Rental Assistance Program, stand against making evictions easier, create fair housing practices where no one has to pay more than 30% of their income in housing, invest in social housing and community land trusts instead of assuming more private equity that created the problem will solve the problem. Otherwise, there will be more socialism for the rich and more capitalism for the poor, just like Dr. Martin Luther King said and Ari Teresa. Under capitalism, it's normal to let children go hungry, let banks force people out of their homes, let sick people die for the lack of access to health care, but the idea that billionaires could just be less rich, not poor, not struggling, just less rich, is considered insane, because in this society, the public doesn't determine public policy. Wealthy investors do, but all money is not good money.
Thank you, Matthew.